project. I did a communication audit for the Democratic National Convention Host Committee. Second to queue up my PowerPoint.
Marina, grab that chair and whatever. I'm okay. Sure.
So as we know, DNC Charlotte is a huge deal for our city. In order for the event to go off successfully, they need to communicate with multiple audiences using multiple channels. It is for that reason that I limited my audit to simply the $5 fundraising campaign, as well as their effort to recruit volunteers. Now, for the audit, an online survey was presented to my Facebook friends, and I asked them to share it as well. The survey is mainly quantitative, yet there is a qualitative portion of it. It consisted of 13 total questions, 8 multiple choice, and 5 open-ended questions as well. Now, for the participants, 204 people logged in, 183 people completed the survey, and they were all U.S. residents and of legal voting age. It was very diverse in both age and gender, and there was a disqualification factor. If they didn't meet the age requirement, or if they weren't U.S. citizens, they were automatically presented to a disqualification page. Now, there is a why Washington. 34 people out of the 181 are from Washington, and you're probably asking why. Well, I'm from Washington, so it stands to reason that a lot of my Facebook friends are from Washington, as well as those who they shared the survey to are from Washington as well. Now, you would think that with the DNC and over 100 people in North Carolina participating, that there would be a large response for people that knew about the $5 campaign. Well, as you can see, that wasn't the case. Their messages just simply weren't resonating. And again, this is a social media crowd, but only 20 people out of the whole candidate pool were aware of the $5 campaign. And I got to be honest with you, I was rather shocked when I saw that. Now, of those 20 people that did see that, it was actually kind of surprising how they heard about it. 10 people heard about it through email. We'll get to that slide in just a second. And because only 10 people heard about it through email, that tells me that these are people that are actually searching for it. So it's not necessarily anything that the host committee did to get their message out. These are people that knew the DNC was here in town, so they searched for it themselves and found the information on their own. And again, 3 from Facebook, 3 from professors, 3 from word of mouth, and 1 for Twitter. Now the next question asks the entire candidate pool what their preferred method of communication is, and that's for how they would like to see communication from the Democratic National Convention. And the top 3 by far were local national news, Facebook, and email. And again, it stands to reason why Facebook was so high was because really the survey went out on Facebook. So these are social media consumers that use Facebook. So again, this is, the DNC, their effort to reach people on Facebook is not working on a national level. And there is an other field, and a significant number of people marked other and put their own responses. And the real story isn't the variety of responses, but is what they put for text messaging. A lot of people said that they would be inclined to give if the DNC would initiate a campaign similar to what Haiti did after the disaster, and where they could just immediately donate $5 if they hit, if they donate, it would just be billed through their wireless service. Now the next is volunteer recruitment. That was restricted to the Carolinas, so if they were not from the Carolinas, then it would go automatically to the last question of the page. And they were asked, were they aware of the campaign? And again, how did they hear about it? And you'd think, with DNC being such a big deal, that a lot of people would have heard about volunteer recruitment efforts. Well, similar to the $5 campaign, that simply wasn't the case. We had over 118 Carolina participants, and I have to say that we had one South Carolina, so it's 117 people from North Carolina that were simply unaware that the DNC host committee had any effort to recruit volunteers. And make no mistake about it, they need volunteers to make this thing go off. And again, so that's 28 people, or 22.9%, said that they were aware. And you can see the recurring theme here. 12 people that heard about it through the website. So once again, these are people that were interested in the DNC and went out and looked for it themselves. It really wasn't anything that the host committee did to reach those people. So that brings us to the themes and recommendations, and I bet you can guess what my number one theme is. The current communication efforts simply are not reaching their intended audience, specifically social media audience. So therefore, my recommendation is to either revise an existing plan or implement an entirely new social media strategic communication plan with the following components. First thing that it should include is an executive summary that states a clear and concise description of the plan. And what that would be for the new employee or for the volunteer that comes in and needs to know, and they're assigned to the social media department, they need a quick one-page synopsis of what their responsibilities are, what the goals are of the plan. The next is a purpose and objective section with clear measurement review. How are they going to review their success, their failures, how are they going to pivot and go on to the next thing if they need to before the convention. And then the third thing is an action plan to deal with any challenges. For example, how are they going to deal with continuing the dialogue during periods of high traffic, either on Twitter, on Facebook? What if they put up a YouTube video and something funny happens, and next thing you know it goes viral? How are they going to still continue that dialogue? So in essence, it's either a crisis plan or just an action plan. Additionally, there should be an organizational analysis that describes the goals of the plan as well as the goals of the host committee, the mission of the host committee, the core values of the organization, the culture, the relevant networks, and then finally, an accurate analysis of their current activity. Currently, they have a Facebook page, they have a decent Twitter presence, and they have an incredibly underused YouTube channel. So again, they need to evaluate those networks that they're using now and say, okay, is this something we keep? Is this something we revise? How do we move forward? Or do we dump it all together? The second theme actually came from the last question of the survey, and that was an open-ended question where participants were asked to give their recommendations on what the DNC host committee could do to improve their communication. And overwhelmingly, people thought that face-to-face communication is definitely valued, and they should involve community leaders in grassroots effort to increase awareness. Now, these can come in the form of community activists, state senators. After all, we're in a political campaign season. I bet candidates would love to get their people on the ground or themselves on the ground into these communities to let them know what these initiatives are. Even local celebrities, radio hosts, anything to get the word out. For the theoretical framework, now we had to do the theory portion of this while the survey was going. Thank goodness it worked out and it's still relevant. Goffman's concept of framing and face impression management, that speaks to awareness, and that really speaks to this survey because people were unaware. Habermas's grounded theory of the public sphere is the act of communicating. And again, whatever the DNC is doing right now for their social media, again, it's not working. It's not a clean system. And Bordeaux's capital, really it's economic capital. I mean, there's all the different forms, but economic capital really spoke out because in implementing a social media plan, they're going to need to allocate more people, more money, and more resources, which are all assets to the field, which is what Bordeaux talks about, economic capital. Now, in conclusion, and that should be just a couple seconds behind me there, in September, the Queen City is going to be in the national and global spotlight. Far too many people are aware of some initiatives that they need. They need money. They need volunteers. So they need to implement a social media communication plan and install a local and national grassroots information awareness effort. Because the bottom line is, the more people that know, the more potential there is for people to give money and their time. Thank you. Any questions?
How much of what they're doing now are you seeing? Because it's times of you had to do this earlier, obviously.
Right.
What are you seeing? As nothing yet?
Still haven't seen. I mean, there's been a little bit of volunteer recruitment. Haven't seen anything with the $5 campaign. I've talked to people all over the country. And by the way, thank you all for participating in the survey. Those who did and sharing it. I really had there was a representation from all over the place. I mean, there were people from Washington, California. Minnesota, just all over the place. So that was really good to see. And this was all in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. We got 200 people volunteer to take a survey, which is pretty phenomenal.
Have you shared this with anybody with the DNC?
I'm going to get an executive summary put together and share it because I don't think they want to see a 25-page document with appendix of theories. I think they want the nuts and bolts. So.
How important do you think kind of the social media influencers in the community? How important? Because that's where I've heard most about the convention is from other people talking about. How important do you think that is?
I think it's a channel. I think that the people that use social media use it. I mean, it's obvious that people that were on here would like to hear information about it. So I think they're underusing it right now. So I think they're missing a specific key audience there. So I think it's important. How important it is, who knows? It'll probably be more important in 4 years. It was a little bit less important 4 years ago. So, Bill?
Based on the efforts that you've seen from the DNC, do you think they had a coherent strategy, or they're just throwing it together?
I think they kind of threw it together, honestly. Right now their main Twitter feed is limited to getting housing, which is definitely a priority, to get enough housing for all the people that are going to be here. But I don't know if you guys follow the DNC, that's really all it is. They haven't established any separate networks for, not even blogging communities really. They have a YouTube channel that I think has last time I checked it had 3 or 4 videos of certain city officials either accepting a award or making an announcement. But again, it's announcements, the same announcements you hear on the news. It's the same announcements you hear everywhere. So there's really nothing new going on there.
Nothing enticing.
Nothing enticing.
As a news producer, I just find it interesting that people actually watch the news. That's the most fascinating to me. And the DNC, to your point, has not put anything out about those initiatives. They just said the DNC staff volunteering and we ran that. But they really, as you said, only sent out press releases of housing and the big things and not the money raised and everything like that. So I find it to be very interesting.
And the funny thing with that is if you go to go to the website and you go to log yourself as a volunteer, it links you back to a page to give $5. And to me, I think that's fundamentally flawed. If I'm going to give my time, the last thing I want an organization to do is try to get $5 out of my pocket.
Have they addressed the head guy's resignation on the Twitter feed or any of the social media?
Nothing. Not that I've seen. Nothing. I know that's been in the news, but. Stacey?
What's the goal for the $5 campaign? Like how much money do they want to raise?
I'm not sure what their exact goal is. I just know what it's for. They need it, for their staffing, for either facility usage to supplement vendors. They need it for a wide variety of things, but I know that they do need it. I'm not sure if any money left over is going to end up going in the campaign because this is it is the DNC, so I'm not sure if there's an agreement or not. But I know it is a national campaign. My father signed up for the $5 campaign and automatically got a letter back from his state senator in Washington. So they have linked it to where, if you're from a different area, you'll get some sort of notification because their hook is if you give $5, you can fly free to Charlotte, or you have an opportunity, you're put into a pool to win a free trip to Charlotte for the convention. So for us,
Yeah, at the rate they're going, I don't think there's going to be any money left over.
yeah, they're spending a lot of money.
Not that you haven't had a ton of work already to do. How does this compare with the Republican National Convention?
Actually, I have a friend that lives in Tampa that is working for that, and they're really behind on social media. Go figure.
I don't know.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.